Hello and welcome back to the Wrestling Group on YouTube. Today we have another rankings video. It was going to be a top 5 matches run, but I haven't been well this week, full of cold, and with work and stuff I haven't had a chance to go and watch wrestling matches because I always like to go through and watch for a particular wrestler, so many matches, then I can give a more accurate rankings if you like, so it's all fresh in my mind. But I still wanted to put content out for you to be able to watch, and obviously to keep the channel active. So I thought, well, what can I do where I don't have to go back through and re-watch and look through? So I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for top 5 PlayStation wrestling games. And the reason why I've stuck to PlayStation, although you know most of them are released on Xbox as well, so it doesn't really matter in that format. It was more to exclude the likes of No Mercy, Day of Reckoning and stuff like that, because I never played them games. So I never actually played No Mercy, and most people would call it the greatest, or at least the second greatest wrestling video game of all time. So I don't want to just admit it from my list and then have everyone going, oh, why didn't you put, you know, No Mercy in? Well, the reason being because I haven't played it. So I thought if I just stick to, you know, PlayStation, although it's basically PlayStation and Xbox really, but it just wouldn't fit on the thumbnail that I created at like 4 o'clock this morning when I had the idea. So I thought, do you know what, stick it to this and it makes it easier, plus it's not then stuck with just WE, and also it doesn't just, you know, just doesn't have me admitting like what people deem to be one of the greatest wrestling games of all time, is because I haven't played it. That's the only reason why it's not going to be in it. So I thought we'll stick to this, and then it doesn't have to be in it. Well, it can't be in it because it wasn't on PlayStation. So anyway, that's the idea behind it. So I'm going with top 5, obviously 5 being the least favourite, number 1 being the top favourite. So I'm going to start with number 5, which is SmackDown vs Raw 2006. So obviously they've done a couple of SmackDown vs Raw games with THQ, which I really enjoyed. You know, I wasn't too fussed at first when I found out, because obviously the SmackDown series had done so well. I really enjoyed it, and obviously the last game being Here Comes the Pain, which is, you know, was a brilliant game in itself. So then when they announced SmackDown vs Raw, the first one was pretty good. It was quite good. But 2006 just took it to that next level. You know, the career mode, story mode, so much better. And of course they had the GM mode for the very first time in the 2006 one. And to be honest, is the best time they've ever done it. Like the 2007 one's not as good. Even the later ones that they've brought back in the 2K games, with like 2K22 and 2K23, the MyGM. They're good. They're good. I enjoy playing them. They're just not as good as the very first one. I think that was the best GM mode that they had, and obviously it was a big thing at the time. And it also come out on PSP. It was the first one to come out on PSP, which I still have. I have 2006 and 2007, I think, or 2008. I can't remember which now, but I've definitely got 2006 on PSP. And you know what? Sometimes like handheld wrestling games don't tend to work as well as you'd think that they would, which is why 2K haven't really done many wrestling games. In fact, I think they've only done the one wrestling game on the Switch. Obviously AEW, their game just being released has come out on the Switch. I haven't played it on Switch to comment on how good it is, but if nothing else, GM mode, it's so easy to just sit. It's like Football Manager. Like I play Football Manager on my phone now. I used to always have it on the laptop and stuff, but then they upped the specs and stuff like that, and needed a better laptop, and I've bought like second-hand gaming laptops and that, but does never play the same. So I tend to just play it on my phone now, and I just find it, although there's a lot that you can't do, it's dead addictive, it's dead easy. Just put the telly on the background, just sit there handheld and play it. And I find the same with this GM mode. Like you don't have to even play the matches, you can just sit there and sim it all and just play as literally like the general manager, and just play it handheld while you're watching other things and doing other stuff. It just makes it easier. You know, it was the first time the Buried Alive match was added as a playable match. You know, I remember that being a big hype at the beginning. Like you know, me and my friends at the time, we always bought the new wrestling game every year, when it was coming out. So obviously the buried alive was a big thing. Like, who are you gonna go in the first ever buried alive match? And you know, most of them went Undertaker, whereas I went as Randy Orton first, the Undertaker. But you know, buried alive match, it was good. I believe I think the one in 2007 was the better version, and that was the one where you could hold the head over and you had to button bash to try and pull away and try and tip them in. But you know, buried alive match was the first match, and it was a big deal. It's like every year if they release a new game for the very first time, sorry, a new match type in a game for the very first time, is a big deal each and every time, and it should be as well. You know, it's the first time you're getting to play these type of matches that you've seen on TV, sometimes perhaps years. I never had the chance to play them. Like obviously with War Games, coming into this game, they had the stamina bar, which I wasn't a fan of when I was younger. Although it did make it more lifelike, so you couldn't just hit every big move under the sun one after another for 10 minutes and then win a match. You had to keep holding, I think it was the select button at the time, to get your stamina back up, otherwise you'd just go dead laggy, and like if you go to run, you just sort of, didn't really work that day, just sort of hit the deck. So I mean, it is good to make it lifelike. It's just when I was younger, I just wanted to just hammer someone, so I wasn't bothered about standing there and trying to press select. But obviously, you could take it off, which I didn't actually know at the time. But you can select to take the stamina bar off. And it was the first game as well where you could have the championships in exhibition. So instead of having to do it in just story based in the story mode or career mode, with the belts, you could actually have the championship match. Have a championship match in exhibition, and you know, you could defend the belts, you could win the belts, and you know, even if you didn't have a title match, if you used the wrestler in exhibition, you know, the champs would always come out with the belts as well. So it was the first time you could actually use the championships outside of career mode. So you know, it was quite a lot in the 2006 SmackDown vs Raw, which was for the very first time at that time when it happened, and it makes it stand out as, especially like, obviously this list is based on obviously gameplay and so much more, but it's also based on how much it's improved from the year before. It's also like, obviously you can't help it, this type of thing, same with any list really, when you're doing rankings and stuff, nostalgia obviously plays a part in it. And you know, this definitely plays part of me, like say being the first one I had on the PSP. Well, it was the first available on PSP, but being able to have it on my handheld console, which I still have now. So that is number 5, SmackDown vs Raw 2006, which takes us to number 4, which is WWE 2K14. Really good game. 2K again for me. You know, when you have something that's doing well, you don't really want to change it up, and obviously when they announced they were changing from SmackDown vs Raw to 2K, didn't really know anything what 2K was about. Obviously didn't really play any other sporting games, apart from FIFA, which obviously isn't done by 2K. And then the first couple of games, I think it was 2012 and 2013, I wasn't a fan. Just couldn't get into it, didn't like it. And then 2014 come around, and they put a lot into 2014 to make it a lot different from the other two. You know, you had the two main modes that they added in this, which makes it stand out. Like, I still have 2K 2014 as a game, so I can go back and play it. Bought it a couple of months back, and you can play the 30 years of WrestleMania, which I think is fantastic. Go back and play so many of the old matches from WrestleMania as a mode, and you have to do the certain things in the match that obviously happened in real life for you then to get all the different unlockables and the achievements, and to pass on to the next one, sort of things, like with Hulk Hogan, like slamming Andre the Giant, and like, you know, the Ultimate Warrior beating Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania, and all them sort of things, and it just made it a lot of fun, exciting. And I think, if I remember right, it's the first time WWE had done anything like this in a game before, where they had it based solely just on fact, because you know, they have like the career mode and like the road to WrestleManias and stuff like that, but most of it is made up storylines for the games, which is brilliant, because like I missed the road to WrestleManias storylines. Some of them are fantastic, you know. Eddie Guerrero stealing the Undertaker's hand to control him and stuff like that was brilliant. And it just shows like some of the writers actually for the games I felt at the time were actually better than the writers for the shows on the television. But give us something different that we hadn't had before, and being able to relive like so much from the past. And like say, especially with someone like myself, I grew up obviously in the 90s watching wrestling, but when I watched wrestling in the 90s, it was either old tapes of like the 80s stuff, or it was WCW, because that's what I watched at the time because it was on free cable. So there's a lot of WrestleManias that I didn't have the nostalgia with. And it is WrestleManias. Like I've gone back and I've rewatched WrestleManias and stuff, but I haven't watched every single match in every single WrestleMania. They just don't appeal to me. But then you might then play the game, and be like, oh, actually, this is quite cool. I've never seen that match. So the play out, it has a different feeling for you for the first time. And obviously there'll be fans that are a lot younger than myself who are playing it and seeing these type of things for the first time. You're like Hogan and The Rock and stuff like that. So it's a really good mode to be added in. And the roster was phenomenal. The size of the roster of all the different legends and that you could choose from. I also enjoyed the other mode that was in it, the streak mode. I think it's the only time it's ever featured in a game. 21 and 0, can you be the one to beat the Undertaker streak? So you could either go as the Undertaker and defend the streak, or you could try and go against the Undertaker and defeat the streak. And I don't know if you ever played it and you ever tried to go against the streak, but if you haven't, go and give it a go, and go and give it a try, because the level that the game goes to when you're facing the Undertaker at WrestleMania to try and break the streak, the level on that is ridiculous. Like it just automatically shifts like to a new level. It's like obviously you don't have like legendary, professional and all that. It feels like it's like Undertaker streak levels up here somewhere. I mean, I did do it in the end, but it took forever, man. It took forever. And I've just thought, I haven't even looked this. I should have checked it. Well, I should have checked it, but I've only just thought of it now. Pretty sure, wasn't this the game where after you complete the game and it runs through the credits, that there's a random John Cena rap that was added into the game? He just done a rap for the game. I'm sure this was the one. If not, then let me know in the comments which game it is. If you remember, there's a game, I'm sure it was this one, where you complete the game and John Cena did this like mad rap at the end after the credits, solely for the game. But yeah, so WWE 2K14, especially for those two modes, for me is why it's in at number 4. It's still one that I'll go and play occasionally, and it's still one that everyone remembers and talks about when you talk about games. And for me, to be fair, like 2K have been a lot of hit and miss. I'd probably say more miss than hit. To be fair, there was a large period of time where I didn't buy 2K games because I'd had enough, because they weren't that good. But 2014 was not one of them. I think it might have been after 15 maybe. Only until like I got like 2019 dead cheap and wasn't really a fan of it, and it wasn't literally until the last couple of games that I started buying them again as soon as they come out, because they've actually been worth the money that they've been asking for. But yeah, so WWE 2K14 is number 4 on my list. So coming in at number 3, now this is nostalgia galore, is SmackDown 2, Know Your Role. I absolutely loved SmackDown 2 on the PlayStation 1. Do you know what? I didn't have many wrestling games on the PS1. I had WCW Mayhem. I'm trying to think what else. I think the other wrestling games weren't even proper wrestling games, like Simpsons Wrestling, that type of stuff. But I missed out on the first SmackDown game for whatever reason. Can't remember why. I mean, you're talking early 2000s now. But we missed the boat on that one. But to be fair, like SmackDown 2 come out within a year of SmackDown 1, because SmackDown 1 was reportedly so poor. Like I say, again, it's a game that I haven't gone and played, because SmackDown 2 was listed to be a lot better, and it's still listed, I think now, is like an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 game, something like that, which is phenomenal, even if you're looking nowadays when we're on, what are we on now, PS5? So the fact it's still considered that high to this day shows how good it is. and again, it shows how much it improved on the year before with like so many things that were they had problems with in the first one. They were able to fix and change in the second one. You know, they added the Iron Man match as well. They added the Hell in a Cell match. Season mode was vastly improved. It was a long drawn out season mode, and obviously the only issue with, you know, we had them classic loading screens, which I know a lot of you'll remember from your days as a kid. The types of loading screens that they had, but you'd have that loading screen on the screen for about a good 7 to 10 minutes during certain parts of season mode while it booted. But that was mainly because of how much stuff was in the game, and how advanced it was for the actual console that it come out on at the time. You know, this game probably should have been on PS2, but you know, PS2 wasn't a thing then. You know, Create a Superstar, you had so much stuff in there that you could use. I remember my first one was this. It was mad. I'd love to be able to find it on a memory card or something, but I don't even know what happened to me first PS1. I've never rebought a PS1, to be fair. I have rebought a PS2. It was like this mad, because you could only do so much. You could do so much compared to the year before, I believe. But you couldn't really do what you can do now. So it was like quite basic. I made him like this mad boxer dude. He was like, but he was in like Hardy Boys pants and like a black tank top with these like boxing gloves, but they weren't proper boxing gloves. They were like black and white with like skeletons on. It was mad, and he had he had long ponytail blue hair for some reason. And I like the colour blue, it's my favourite colour, so I just thought I'd give him long hair and a ponytail with blue hair. So I think I was going through my mad Jeff Hardy phase at the time. Which, because like at one point, like at one point, Hardy Boys have always been my favourite tag team, but you know, at one point I was just mad on Jeff Hardy and I thought he was like the best thing ever. You know, luckily I didn't follow in his footsteps, but you know, I had this blue hair and that, and because the moveset wasn't that advanced, you could only do so much stuff. Like, I remember a friend of mine had basically a dude that was like a karate dude, like a kung fu guy. That was his creator wrestler, because you could literally, if you stuck to a certain type, then you could use so many different moves, like, if you get what I mean. So like, mine was a boxer one, so we had so many different punches and stuff like that, so we didn't really use kicks and stuff. But I mean, you only had a couple of buttons that you could actually use anyway, because it was still like an arcade style. Um, but you could do creator taunts. I remember hours doing creator taunts. Like, why? Like, I mean, some of the taunts that you could create go on for ages, and you just open you so like it looks cool when you're creating it. And it's like, say, half The Rock, half Stone Cold, a little DX chop in there somewhere, and all this. And then you go to do it in a match, and you're like, oh yeah, it's like 3 minutes long. I'm never going to be able to finish it because the guy gets up and does it in. But you know, it's such a good game. I like the Royal Rumble matches. It wasn't gender specific like it is now. You know, you could be facing the Undertaker and Tori Wilson jumps on your back for some reason, and or you could be Kane chokeslam Stacey Keebler or whatever. You know, it was just a mix, and it was good, because like that's the way it should be. Just be fun, you know what I mean? We don't need to have it where it's just specific things, but obviously the way WWE changed, the game's changed as well to match. You know, if you do like mixed tag matches now, if you tag in as a male, then the other male automatically gets in, which is what they do in real life. But obviously back then you could just like whatever you wanted to do, Tombstone, Trish Stratus, for all we cared, or you could even have the women beat the men, you know what I mean? Like, there was plenty of women that could beat some of the men in there, so. But yeah, early 2000s, full of nostalgia for me. Like, say, the first wrestling, or at least the first WWE one I had. In fact, I might have had this before Mayhem. I can't remember what the dates work out to. It was Mayhem 97, 98. So maybe it might have been after that. But yeah, so SmackDown 2, Know Your Role, comes in third spec. So in at number 2 is WWE 2K23, the latest game out for the WWE. I have got WWE. I've also got AEW. Not a major fan on the AEW one right now. It was fun and cool for the first 24 hours, but there's only so much you can do with Fight Forever at the moment. So we've got to wait on more updates and expanded rosters and stuff like that. So I do feel like it's going to be a great game in the future, just not right now while I'm doing this list. So unfortunately, it doesn't hit on the list, and same with Fire Pro Wrestling. I wasn't a big fan of that when that come out either. So unfortunately, it is turning into just a WE list, but what can you do? They put out the better games. So, like I say, WE 2K23, the graphics are near perfect. The graphics for this game are phenomenal. I have a PS4, I don't even have a PS5, so I can imagine if you've got next gen consoles that the graphics would be so much better again. But like, it's like watching them on the TV at this point. I mean, saying that though, like when SmackDown 2 come out, I probably thought that at the time, even though you look at it and you're like, they're all square. People don't look square in real life, but you know, back then it was like, oh my god, this is the realest thing ever. And to be honest with you, this is literally like the realest thing ever, you know, even from the entrances and stuff. You know, we get the John Cena story as it's 20 years of John Cena debuting, where you get to be people that have faced and beaten John Cena throughout the years, like RVD, Edge, Randy Orton, them type of people. So it's quite cool. I haven't finished it yet, mainly because I've been so obsessed with Universe Mode, which takes me to Universe Mode is so much better. You can do a lot of stuff in it. You can create your own stuff. Like I do videos for Universe Mode for AEW, funny enough. I started one as WCW, which I really enjoyed at the time. Then I had a problem with the game, so I had to reboot the whole game and lost all my creations, so I lost all my WCW Universe Mode and stuff. And then when I was going on back onto the community creations, because I was just going to download it all again, because like I was a big WCW fan, and obviously the wrestlers aren't in the games and that, I was going to do it again, and then because I was trying to work out how everyone was uploading stuff to YouTube, because like I'm relatively new to YouTube still. I've only like been doing this properly for since like the beginning of the year really, even with the videos like this one. And I was trying to work out like, because I recorded a video of something off my phone when I was watching when I was playing a game, and I was like, why does everyone else's on YouTube look so good, whereas mine clearly looks like I've recorded it off my phone? So I looked into it and then managed to figure out how I can record certain things and matches and stuff. So I started a Universe Mode through WWE 2K23, using AEW guys and that. But just like the fact that they have this community creations on here is just unreal. Yeah, they had it in previous games, but you know, you can have AEW, like I've got AEW Dynamite, Rampage and Collision, and I do matches for each of them, and I post them up online, and I get some good views on some of them. You know, I've got like a match that's gone over 3,000 views. 3,000 people have watched me play on a game. You know, it's unreal, and it's probably why a lot of you actually subscribe to this channel, is probably through me doing the WE2K23 stuff. You've got the My Rise storylines. You've got two this time. You've got the Lock storyline, which you've played all the way through, which is great. That's the male one. And then you've got the female one, which is the what's it called? The Legacy one. Yeah, the Legacy one, which I haven't played all the way through yet, because like I said, I was playing the game in that, and I got an issue with my game, so I had to reboot the whole game, delete the download and re-download, and I lost all my stuff on it. So obviously I was halfway through doing that, so see my ass and didn't carry on. Well, I couldn't carry on, I'd have to start again. So at the moment, like, I haven't got any unlockables or anything through like the Lock or the Legacy of that, because you know, the one that I did complete the Lock doesn't exist, and the one I was halfway through, the Legacy, doesn't exist. So I do want to get around to doing them again. I really did enjoy the Lock storyline. I thought that was great, which was a lot better myself already. I think was a lot better than the My Rise that did the last year. Yes, that was good, where you had the male and the female, and you switched between the two in the story mode. But I really did like this, and I like the layout and the way they did it, and you know, going over to Japan during the storyline. You got sacked during the storyline, you know, featured endeavoured by Shawn Michaels. You know, go over to do some British wrestling, put on the tournaments and stuff. I just thought it was really good, the whole storyline, so I do want to get back and redo it anyway. and I want to be able to do the legacy one and complete that too. So yeah, like I say, there's so much in 2K23 that is just makes the game phenomenal. And it's the first time, like I did really enjoy the last one, which made me go out and buy 2K23 literally when it was released, which I don't tend to do a lot with games. I don't buy games as soon as they release, but I knew this time I desperately wanted this when it was released because I could see how much was different in this. Like the My GM mode again, that's it. It's another good mode. I don't think it's as good as the GM mode of SmackDown vs Raw 2006, but it is still really good. And again, it gives you another option to do other things. You know, there's that much now that you can actually do that you can't really get bored. I don't feel like you can get bored of these games now, because they are that far advanced. You can do universe modes for like a year, you could do GM modes for like a year, you could do legacy, you could do the lock, you could do the John Cena showcase, and there's that much you can do. Obviously the adding in of the war games this year as well, which is a phenomenal addition. You know, there's that much you can do now with these games, and the fact that you can download so much and they haven't restricted nothing, I think is brilliant. Like as much as, you know, WWE don't see these other companies as being competitions and stuff, obviously they do. You know, they just don't like to say that they do. But the fact that they're not bothered, that they open up, like as long as you're still buying their game and, you know, giving them the money, it doesn't matter if you're downloading AEW or New Japan or Impact Wrestling or Ring of Honor or legends that have never even stepped foot in WWE, because you're still buying their game to be able to download all this content onto. And I think it is absolutely fantastic that it is open as an option to do, and hopefully AEW does do something similar in the future. So that is number 2. So we'll go through quickly, Dan, and then I'll give you my number 1. But if you know me and we've talked anything to do with wrestling games, then number 1 shouldn't be a surprise in the slightest. So we'll go with number 5 is SmackDown vs Raw 2006. Number 4 is WWE 2K14. Number 3 is SmackDown 2, Know Your Role. Number 2 is WWE 2K23. So that leaves us with one thing, and one thing only can be number 1. And that is SmackDown. Here Comes the Pain. Absolutely love this game. Rebought a PlayStation 2 about 4 or 5 years ago, something like that now. About 5 years ago. And my main reason for buying a PlayStation 2 again after not having one for a good few years was I wanted to play Here Comes the Pain. I also wanted to play, because it was before the PS4 re-released some of the old PS2 games. I also wanted to play San Andreas and Vice City, but the first game you can bet that I bought was Here Comes the Pain. You know, it was the first time to add the Elimination Chamber match into the game, which was a massive thing at the time. You know, we had bra and panties matches added in, which was always good fun. For say 14 boys with nothing better to do than try and rip each other's bras and panties and everything else off. That was always fun, smashing the circle button in to take the top off and whatever. Yeah, it was amazing. You know, you had a year-long season mode, which was a lot more advanced than the ones previous. You could select different options throughout the season mode as well, which would change the storyline based on what you selected. You know, you could go against Vince McMahon as a one-on-one, or you could go against Vince McMahon where he created his own version of like a corporation, and then you got your new faction. The way you spoke to people backstage, most of the time you'd have like 2 or 3 options, so like you could randomly tag team with Brock Lesnar or The Undertaker or something like that and go for the tag belts. You know, so that storyline was a lot more advanced than what we'd had previous. You can visit your GM as well if there's no story going on at the time during season mode, and you can, you know, request a title shot, and it'd be like, well, I think you can go for like the IC, or I think you can go for the US, or you can go for the world title. Or you can even ask to be drafted to the other brand as well. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff in season mode that even if there's not a big story going on, that you can still do. You know, like say going for belts and stuff. It was the last game, like I said before, it's the last game to feature intergender matches. You know, they then changed it because obviously WWE changed their style. They then changed it obviously in the games as well. So it's the last time that you could actually play a tag match, not have to be automatically tagged out, or you could, I don't know, you could have Brock Lesnar face Trish Stratus if you want, or Stephanie McMahon or something like that. But there was no restrictions, you know what I mean? If you're playing as a female, you didn't have to face another female. If you're playing as a male, you didn't have to face another male, you know, or you could do it as a mixed tag. like mixed tags were at one point. Or if you look at other promotions like Impact, you know, they've had digital media champions, been both male and female. So you know, it does happen in wrestling, but obviously not in WWE. Backstage, the backstage on Here Comes the Pain, it was unreal. I mean, 1 minute you could, you know, the backstage matches, 1 minute you could be riding a motorcycle and you jump on the motorcycle and you just ride around, and then you press the button, you just carry someone by the neck, especially if you were the Undertaker, or if you just drag them along by the neck and then fling them. You could drive a forklift truck and drop things. You could climb up the side of one of the production lorries and jump off it like a swanton bomb or something like that. There was one as well, wasn't there, with the cars going past in the street, and you could use like a bin lid and throw it like a frisbee. There was the one where you had the ladder from the helicopter and you could climb up that and drop off that. You know, it's just that much to do. Like the backstage, I remember being massively a popular one that we wasted loads of time on when we were kids. Cause it was just so fun. It was brilliant, and you could go from different areas to the next as well. I know there's a lot of games since where you're stuck in one area, but you could actually just walk, and they had an arrow and you stood there for so long that it'd load the next screen, and you know, you'd be on the next place. But yeah, it's such a good fun game. Nostalgia galore, definitely. You know, one of the best rosters at the time as well. You know, the introductions of like Eddie and John Cena and Chris Benoit and stuff like that, Kurt Angle. You know, and we had legends as well coming into it, like Ric Flair and stuff. But yeah, for me, definitely the best game. Still a game I'll go and play now. Still a game I'll recommend anyone if you've never tried it or never played it, go out and play it. It still holds up. It's not as good as when obviously we first got it. I remember there being so much buzz around this. I remember me and my mates, Andy Lewis being one of them. We'd all literally in the build up to this, we were talking about doing this tournament where the four of us would all face each other and then like face each other in like 2 semi-finals, and then the 2 winners face each other in the finals. And we were picking our wrestlers before the game had even come out, and you know, I remember being talked about it because so many people wanted to be the same wrestler and that. And then I think the tournaments ended up being Triple H, Undertaker, Brock Lesnar and Goldberg, which I ended up winning because I had Goldberg, and let's face it, you hit a spear and a jackhammer, you ain't kicking out of that, are you? I like the fact that you could put on as many finishes as you wanted as well, which, you know, certain games you can't do in. What was the other one they did? Was it called the Slobber Knocker match, where you were in the ring and it ran for something like 20 minutes or half an hour, whatever, and like you'd face people and you could like beat them, and then someone else would slide in, and then you'd face them, beat them, and then someone else would slide in, and you just go on for like half an hour, and you just sit there just beating all these different people and get your number right off, and you'd have a total at the end of like how many wrestlers you defeated in their time limits, or if they defeated you, how many you defeated before you lost. You know, that was a great match as well, especially if you had nothing better to do for half an hour. Stick it on and just be Brock Lesnar and F5 as many people as you could. But yeah, for me, Here Comes the Pain. There isn't a game like it, and I don't think there ever will be. And there's one of the main reasons why obviously I didn't just say non-PlayStation and just add any other games, because I know a lot of people can consider Here Comes the Pain and No Mercy to be 1 and 2, vice versa, and I didn't want to just leave No Mercy off, but I've never played it personally. If I have, it's probably been for a match, but I definitely haven't played it long enough to be able to add it into a top 5. So there you have it, my top 5 PlayStation games, PlayStation wrestling games. My top 5, yeah. So let me know in the comments if there's any games that you think shouldn't be in here, if there's any games that you think should be in here that aren't in here, if there's any games that you think maybe should be higher or lower than the other. Let me know. I am interested to know everyone's opinions on PlayStation wrestling games. Let me know what your top 5 are in the comments. As always, thank you for watching. Keep an eye out. I'll have more stuff coming soon when I'm feeling a little bit better. I'll get back to doing me rankings video that I did have planned. And you know what, I'll tell you what it is, because I'm just going to plug it myself now. It was going to be, and it will be, coming in the next week or so, is top 5 Stone Cold matches. So keep an eye out for that one. That's my next rankings video. But as always, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think, and give us a like, follow, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and keep an eye out for more wrestling related content coming soon.